Hopefully that. All right. Sorry. Trying to figure this stupidness out. All right. Good. All right. So let's get this meeting started with the five of us. So listen, I was really looking forward to doing the whole emergency preparedness retreat this October, but you know, what you call it, changed their rules. AMC changed their rules because I guess because of COVID. So I don't know what hikers are doing anymore because hikers used to use AMC and rent out just a bed. But if they changed it that drastically, I don't know what they're doing or if they have alternative setups. But one of the setups I was looking to do is it was actually Inshira's idea was like an Airbnb that holds like let's say 12 people. Um, that might be a little cheaper than AMC, and we can do something similar to that, but as long as it's in the woods where we have adequate resources to run the class. I am going to call AMC again, see if I can speak to a manager and see if they will, um, you know, either change it back to the way it was or, give us some kind of a better time frame. Or I can also schedule it for the winter and then try that for the first time, giving people time to pay. The only problem with paying me to pay them is that there won't be any refunds. So, unfortunately, if you miss out, you miss out. The refund will be out because they're not going to refund me the money if you don't come. Not like it was the old way where you bought the individual beds. So, um, something to consider, something to discuss down the line.
Oh, Jason, I have uh one more idea that I'll text you later about,
Okay.
you
All
know,
right.
because I know New York City, they've closed off all camps for the rest of this year. That includes the Boy Scout camp and it includes Floyd Bennett Field. They're like de Blasio has stopped overnight camping for both scouts and for families. And it looks like Floyd Bennett Field is closed also for the rest of this year.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah, someone sent me an email about Floyd Bennett Field, and I was like, okay, that's a consideration. But now that you said that it's closed, um, okay, that's again, everybody's changing everything drastically. For I hate to say it and simplify it, but for this bullshit. Looking at what Denmark just did, they're done with the whole being restrictive and vaccine passports. They're getting rid of it all. And the prime minister, I think it is, was saying that we need to live with it. The bottom line. But here in the United States, I think we're going to continue scaring the shit out of each other until somebody grows a pair of balls and knocks it off. So we will be affected with a lot of the shit that we're doing moving forward. And I moved back to doing this just because it was easier for people, and yet people still can't even to turn their computer on and just listen. Never mind, sitting in front of it, just listening. So um, this seems like this is the whole prepper thing is going to continue to be a problem, even though we just went through a curveball a couple days ago with this flooding. This flooding caught everybody off guard. There might be people out there that'll say otherwise, like, oh, I saw this coming, kind of bullshit, but this caught everybody off guard. I mean, I work in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, in the middle of the Bronx, and I've never seen flooding like that. Cars were floating, people's apartments were pretty much destroyed, and this is in the middle of the Bronx. And keep in mind, Sandy and Irene, we didn't see this amount of flooding at all, right? So, not in the area where I work, and instead, people who live near the beach and stuff, they didn't see too much. They didn't see bad flooding, but the middle of the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, they saw the worst flooding we've seen in over 200 years.
Well, we did have flooding when in that thunderstorm that was hours before the remnants of Hurricane Elsa came through.
Right.
That's and and that was already pretty bad. And I don't know why the subway stations were still open with that much flooding. And then what, like a month and a half later, the same thing happens and people still don't know what to do?
Well, because the Elsa wasn't nearly as bad as this. This was incredibly bad. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, it was bad, but remember, um, before Hurricane Sandy hit, Bloomberg had already sent out a warning that stores and subways were going to be closed down. I
yes,
mean, I was in Morningside Heights for a birthday party, and a lot of us left early so we can catch the subway home,
yeah,
before it closed down. This is before a drop of rain ever fell, hours before a drop of rain ever fell.
yeah. And again, this one, they didn't think it was going to be that bad, but then all of a sudden, this moisture, it collected all this moisture out of fucking pretty much nowhere. Because I mean, listen, these idiots were watching it and they didn't see it, right? Weathermen, sorry, they were watching it, didn't see it, and then look what happens. We get
But
caught
it
with
was
our
coming
pants.
on land. It was coming on land. They had a problem in Maryland. They
Right,
had a problem in South Jersey. It was coming our way. It wasn't, we saw what was happening to those folks on land. It's not like it was other hurricanes that come through the water, over the ocean and
right,
then hits us. This is coming on land and people are just like staring at it like deers in headlights.
right. And
Oh, I guess
listen, even sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just wondering because geographically, the rivers here in New Jersey flooded. I mean, what was happening in the Bronx? What rivers was it? Rivers flowing over their banks, or just the amount and volume and the narrowness of the buildings caused it to go funnel, or was it the sewer drains weren't clear? Do you know exactly?
Yeah, so the sewer system couldn't handle the volume of water that was coming from the rain. And with that, and because, like I said, I've also never seen heavy rain for that long. I mean, listen, it was going for about an hour or two, and it was constant. And what happened was, because the sewer system couldn't handle that volume of water, it started backing up into the streets. It started backing up into the homes.
Mm,
uh,
got it. Wow.
right? And so the
Oh,
crazy. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's like pure volume.
Right. It's all it was. And listen, a lot of people, whether you believe in climate change or not, we're definitely seeing something different. That's for sure, because this is not the last time we're going to see anything. We're going to see something like this again. Sorry. And the the problem with this is now the basement apartments, which, listen, for years, right? The fire department and buildings code agency, right? Buildings agency, they've always said, forget about this storm, right? Forget about the storm that just passed. Basement apartments are inherently shitty, right? Rodents, roaches, mice, they all hang out. Mice, sorry, rodents and roaches, they hang out pretty much in basement level. And whenever you get a flooding in a building, right? So whatever, like say a pipe burst in my apartment, the people in the basement apartment, they'll get the residuals of that. It all drains down to them. Whenever there's a problem with pipe or water issues, the people in the basement are the last people to get it, and they get all of it. So it's just a bad place to be. And then when a pipe bursts, 9 times out of 10, it's in the basement. So again, they get flooded out again. So now you got this new problem that we're seeing that's going to compound that situation. And what's going to do, it's going to wind up displacing a few 100,000 people, maybe tens of thousands of people out of their apartments, because uh, they're going to get rid of basement apartments. If we see another storm like this again, you can all but guarantee basement apartments are going to be out. You know, 20, what are we up to now? 40 something people died because of the storm. More people died in this storm than down in Louisiana, right? I think Louisiana only had like 2 or 3, maybe 4 people. We're up to 42, something like that, in the death tolls. Again, very odd, right? Now, yes, Tina, we were watching the storm come up, but no one would have expected, what was it now, 15 people to die in the basement apartment. No one saw that coming. People died from the usual bullshit, getting hit by a tree, getting out of their cars during the, raging waters and getting washed down the road. But not in a million years would you have thought people were going to die in their apartments. That was the strange thing. That was the curveball.
Now, how did they not, were they just not able to get out? Like because of like maybe so much water volume prevented them from opening the doors to leave?
Um, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, I'm stumped too, because at some point when the water's at your knees, you're like, all right, it's time to get the fuck out of here. But I know one video, and it's in the video I'm releasing tomorrow. Actually, sorry. You see a guy walking past the camera in his apartment. I don't know what the camera is, a security camera or something. He walks by, and maybe 5 seconds later, the back wall of his house caves in, and all this water comes rushing in. That makes sense, right? He got caught off guard. But for a lot of people, that wasn't the case. So I'm wondering at what point did they decide to leave or became too much for them. Now, we, right, that night we went into a lady's apartment. The water was up to our chest, right? And some points it was up to our necks. Now, I remember when I jumped into the water, I remember saying, oh, it's just going to be my waist. Because the guy that I was with, my partner I was with, it was up to his waist, but he was standing on the stairs, and I didn't know that. So when I jumped like behind him, the water jumped up to my chest, and it caught me off guard. We wind up doing a search to this lady's apartment, and the only thing I thought when we got probably halfway in is, what if this fucking furniture blocks the doorway and water keeps coming in? Then we're fucked, you know. But that was a risk we were taking to look for somebody who wasn't there in the long run. Um, the
Oh
other
yeah,
apartment
I
building,
saw that. I saw your live stream on that. The thing about the woman in the who was the elderly woman who ended up not being in her apartment while you guys were searching for it. I
yes,
mean, what who even who even told you that she was
her
in the
neighbors.
apartment?
Her neighbors said they no, they said they thought she was in there, and that
Uh,
she hadn't answered the door all day. So they were like, she could be in there. So usually when people say they could, I already know they're not, but we can't sit there and go, nah, I have a good feeling she's not in there. We can't say that, right? So we have to go. But anyway, we come back out and they're like, oh, she's at a neighbor's apartment. Would have been fucking awesome if they told us that before we got in there. So now all of our bunker gear that we had on, because there's two schools of thought with the bunker gear. You take it off and just go in your shorts, and then you trudge through that way. But then if you cut yourself because of some shit that's underwater, now your wound's contaminated. Now you got to go to the hospital. But you keep your bunker pants on. The bunker pants gets wet. The water pools into the boots, and now your pants and your boots become lead weights, right? And if the water gets higher, we're not swimming out of that shit. We would have to leave or pull off our bunker gear in that instant. And it's hard to pull off bunker gear when it's wet. Um, so we ran into those two problems, and we sucked it up and said, we'll deal with whatever comes down the line. And we went in, we went out, we came out. It wasn't bad. It was interesting. It was very interesting, but I wouldn't want to be in that situation again. If
now
I had to, I would. So
is
again,
bunker gear the same as waders?
no, bunker gear protects us from fire, not water,
Okay.
right? And waders would have been nice for that situation, but it was up to our chest. It would have gone over the waders. That's how high it was, right? So it was just something we all citywide we dealt with. Some places didn't see any water, and other places we saw fucking all of it. So that being said, this is not the last time we're going to see this. So for people who live in apartment, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you don't, but if you know somebody that does, you're gonna have to tell them they got time, but they should leave. They shouldn't still be living in a basement apartment, not after this, because like I said, this won't be the last time. We will see more of these kinds of storms. You got Larry that looks like, now they're saying Larry's not going to hit us. The projected path right now is it's going to miss, but they're talking about heavy rains coming from that. So we shall see what that looks like in the next couple of days. If we get hit with a hurricane that rains the way Ida did up here, though Ida wasn't a hurricane, we're going to see more of this, right? So people have to start planning to get the hell out of basement apartments and going up to the first, second floor. Or if not, we're going to have tens of thousands of people displaced at any given time. The 9/11 system, actually, guys, that's another thing I want to bring up. The 911 system shut down during the storm. They put an automated answer on. If this is 911, please call back. We are extremely busy. Or some high call volume or something like that. And now you are truly on your own. So now let's just say you got an asshole who's stalking you, or you got an asshole who's being an asshole who's trying to attack you. You couldn't call 911 because they were being taxed with all the phone calls they were getting from everybody's apartments flooding and shit like that. So that being said, you have to come up with a safety protocol for yourself because there was no one coming for you. And this incident proved it. We didn't even run into that kind of situation with Sandy and Irene, but with this situation, we ran into that where the 9/11 system went automated, and not even automated, but just had like an answering service message, telling you they're not going to be able to get to you. You're pretty much on your own. I want to get the exact recording so that I can, actually do a video on it. But 2 people told us during the storm that they ran into that problem. And one lady was like, "Well, what if I was getting raped or beat up? Well, no one was coming for me." I'm like, "No, you were on your own. That is why you get prepared so that you don't, have to what you call it, deal with that kind of shit." She was like, "Well, maybe I'll consider it now." Right. Um, Again, guys, we're going to see more problems with us being on our own with shit like this.
So, Jason, it's Shira. What kind of safety protocol would you recommend?
Well, listen, if you're in a state where you can get firearms, get firearms. Obviously, mace, bear spray, wasp spray for your home. Now, wasp spray is big. People are like, "Oh, you can carry it around." You cannot carry around wasp spray, guys. Wasp spray is a giant fucking can about like that big and probably about that round. It's huge, and but it's great for home defense, and it has nice reach, right? I think it's like a 12-foot reach, something like 9 to 12-foot reach. So you got that on your side. If you know how to use a knife, by all means, but don't be the guy in Saving Private Ryan, right? He whipped out his knife to stab the German when him and the German got into the one-on-one fist fight, right? One-on-one combat. Oh, sorry, hand-to-hand combat, and the German wound up taking the knife out of his hand and stabbing him. Right? Don't be that guy. So if you're going to use a weapon, learn how to use the weapon. If you can get a firearm, even in New York City, if you can get a firearm for practice reasons or game, make sure you have that ready to rock and roll when that shit happens, because if that happens, they're not going to. I would like to think they're not going to throw the book at you for defending yourself with an assailant coming through your door, beating your door down, knowing 911's not coming. So he's beating your door down. Get your gun ready. Put one in his fucking, in his face. Those are my tips or opinion, rather, not tips, opinion, on the situation, because we're definitely going to see more of that kind of shit, guys. You being on your own, that is. If another terror attack pops off now, guys, we are on our own, right? No one's coming to help you. All the resources are going to be down at that terror attack. So you have to come up with a plan. You have to get a fire extinguisher, right? And I would get a fire extinguisher that's ABC extinguisher, and then a water extinguisher as well. An ABC extinguisher is a powdered extinguisher that handles, what is it? Wood, paper, electrical, and cooking, like cooking grease and shit like that. Right. So get yourself one of those as well. Like I said, you will be your own fireman, you will be your own police officer, you'll be your own protector. That, like I said, listening to people, or rather women, say that this shit was shut down and I didn't have, no one was coming for us. You're on your own, so you got to be very, very mindful of that. Any questions? Also, guys, hold on. Let me pull up some notes. All right, so I said right that the early report was 25 people dead. We're up to 42 people are dead. All 5 boroughs were hit, with this insane flooding. Here's a more tips, or rather opinions. Glass breakers and seatbelt cutters, guys. I think 2 people died in their cars. One guy died in the car. Sorry, he drowned in his car. So I'm assuming that his battery died. He couldn't get his window down, and he drowned in his car. He had another guy who got out of his car, and he was washed away by the raging waters. So, uh, yes, in some cases, it is better to stay in your car and take your chances, as long as you got your seatbelt cutter and your glass breaker. Make sure it's a combo glass breaker seatbelt cutter, because you don't want to deal with 2 things in your hands while you're floating down somebody's fucking street. Uh, like I said, I did see cars floating. I thought that was fucking interesting. Again, in the middle of the Bronx, water will make an object float after. Someone said 3 inches, but that's not true. It's in the street for cars. I think it's 3 feet of water. Well, depending on the car, 3 feet of water will start it to float. The lady, I think, in her apartment, she had 5 feet of water, and everything was floating. Every last piece of furniture was floating in there. Her refrigerator was upside down. There was Freon in the water because of the fridge leaking the Freon into it. And we were smelling that shit, but we couldn't identify it until we got out. So there was that issue. Being contaminated with other things other than sewage, we were contaminated with a chemical. Oh, again, contend with that. Also, guys, do yourself a favor if you want. It's up to you. Get an inflatable raft. Uh, I think in certain cases, people were going to need it. Maybe you don't want to trudge through that shit. Maybe you don't want to fucking be in waist deep water. Get yourself an inflatable raft. Make sure it's big enough to help the family out, right? So if it's just you, single person raft is fine. But if you got a family of 6, maybe you want to get 2 rafts, right? Or 3. Uh, how are you going to blow them up? Make sure you get an automatic pump that blows them up instantly, so you're not sitting there blowing into it like an asshole for fucking an hour, right? And those, what you call pumps, will work the one time, and then either you discard it or you keep it around and use it again. But in a flood situation, you're not thinking that. You're thinking of just fucking getting dry ground, getting higher ground, um, and trying to stay dry. Make sure you have dry clothes in that bag, guys, like a bug out bag, but a flood kit or something like that, right? Make sure you have the seatbelt, the glass cutter, the change of clothes, the flashlight, the first aid kit in case you cut yourself, battery chargers so that you can charge your phone, whether that's solar or regular lithium. Make sure you have a battery charger in that kit so that you can recharge your shit when you are in a drier environment. Make sure all of that stuff is in the dry bag so that the dry bag um, keeps everything dry. That's why it's called a dry bag, right? Dry bags are awesome too because they double as a floating device. So again, keep that in mind. Let's see. I had a fucking long week, guys. I'm super tired. I think I'm starting to slow down. This thing doesn't tell me. Okay, sorry. Okay, so sham, I guess the basic things you should have, it's food, water, flashlight, batteries, battery operated radios, battery chargers. Try to get a battery charger with lithium and a solar charger. Guys, solar chargers are great because usually after a storm, the sun's out. You can recharge your items via a renewable source. the sun. Keep in mind, if the power goes out, once the battery charge is done, you're not going to be able to charge it anywhere. So try to get yourself a solar charger of some kind. I have a solar generator. I'm getting a second one Wednesday. So I'll have two in the house. Solar generators are great. You can run a lot of things off of them. You can charge a lot of shit off of them multiple times. I'm trying to get one big enough to run a fridge for at least 8 hours. 8 hours and then an 8 hour charge. So the other things you would need, your own personal medical supplies with your medical kit. Keep them together. Have a blackout kit, which would be candles, batteries, flashlights, headlamps. Again, a battery operated radio. The blackout kit will come in handy for just about anything these days because we are undoubtedly going to lose power in situations like this. Also, I would say that's about it. Oh, have cash on hand. Cash is important. If you have cash, make sure you break down the cash in smaller denominations like $1, $5 bills, maybe even 10. 10 would be the highest I would go. Not 20s, right? Try to keep them small so that it's useful. All singles work a lot better, but who the hell wants to walk around with $100 worth of, or $200 worth of singles? But singles work a lot better as well because you can break it down a lot easier. You can break down the tens into 5 singles, 10 singles, 20 singles, right? So that you have them clipped off in that manner. So if it's $10, you just give them the 10 singles right out of the gates. If it's 5, you give them 5 singles. You don't have to sit there and count. You make the payment faster. Make sure you mark it all. I mean, listen, you shouldn't have to mark off singles. You should know by feel what 5, 10, and 20 looks like, or feels like, rather, sorry. And then you know to reach for it and just hand it over to the person without batting an eyelash. That's one little method when it comes to money. Sham, hopefully I answered your question. Get non-perishable foods like freeze-dried foods, canned goods. That's always a good thing. Also get something where you might not need a heating source, right? So like canned goods, you can eat it cold, though it sucks. MREs, you can eat it cold, though it sucks. Freeze-dried goods, you need to boil water to get it reconstituted. So you pick. I mean, listen, boiling water is not going to be a factor. We're always going to have that going. I don't want to say always. We're going to have that going more times than not. So freeze-dried foods is the way to go, and it tastes a lot better than canned goods and fucking MREs, depending on the kind of MREs and canned goods you get. So keep that in mind. And freeze-dried food. You can get shit freeze-dried food, guys, and it tastes like shit, right? You can get the one I'm selling called Nutrient Survival. That's pretty good. Tastes good as well. But you can also pay a little more. Peak Refuel. By far the best freeze-dried food on the market, but it is super expensive per package. So you're not getting a box, you're getting it per package. And a package is like $11. But $11 feeds 2 people, right? So again, weigh out your options, weigh out your bank account, see what it's going to cost, and see if it's worth it. I think freeze-dried foods are worth it as long as you have a renewable source of water to constantly boil the water to cook.
Oh yeah, on Friday, Jersey City had a boil water uh, warning or something, so that um, there you could wash your hands, you could take a shower, but you weren't supposed to drink from the tap. They had turned off the water fountains and the soda machines over at Newport Mall on Friday afternoon.
Okay. That's interesting. Right. Again, guys, to recap, because I'm gonna end this soon. Uh, Remember, you're on your own, right? So you're gonna have to come up with a plan for that, for your safety. Sorry, rather. Bear spray, wasp spray, mace will work. Get yourself a firearm and have it loaded, man. Fuck that shit, right? Make sure you do it legally, obviously for the obvious reason, just in case the cops have to come by, whatever the case is, it's legally done. But make sure it's ready to rock and roll when that blackout or the cops can't respond kind of shit happens again. We are definitely going to run into that. Sorry, trying to type something out. Also, guys, blackout kit, flood kit, whatever you want to call it. because we're definitely going to see that problem again. I mean, again, I was just, I'm still amazed that we went through that shit. I'm amazed that the fire truck had water going up to the front windshield, right? So I'm amazed about the whole thing. But nonetheless, we still need to get prepared. Now, there is a book out there. It's a really decent book. I hate to admit it. This is the book I should have written myself, but this is a very, very well put together book. It's called Disaster Preparedness NYC. Again, put together very well, uh, research pretty good. Some things, clearly, hopefully you guys can see that. Maybe it's backwards, but it's Disaster Preparedness NYC. Very good book. Well thought out. What's going on, man? Gene, what's going on?
We're doing good. We're doing good. I moved to Nevada, man, so I kind of messed up with the time frame. I got 3 hours time difference here. I figured I'd check in with you anyway.
Roger that. Thank you. You moved to Nevada, huh?
Yeah, man, we packed it in the beginning of the year. I kind of kept it on the down low. We left New York
Good.
and just kind of moved out to the outskirts of Las Vegas, out on the edge, and we're right up by the desert out there. So yeah, kind of big change, but just figured for the best.
I hear that, man. Looking to move to Texas. We shall wait and see, how when that happens.
Nice, good deal, man, good deal.
With them dropping the mandates here in the city, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
like it's time to fucking bounce
Right.
soon. So.
Right. Nevada's still a blue state, but it was red for a long time, and it's only because of the governor, but it's not too bad out here. It's still pretty good.
That's good. That's good.
It's not that urban area anymore,
Yeah. All right. So Tina, thank you for the link. Yeah, Gene. So I'm gonna recap because we're gonna end it pretty soon. We've had a rough week so far here in the city. Last night, by the way, there was an Amazon truck driver who went off the highway, off of an embankment and smashed into the ground. We responded to that. Again, never seen anything like that. You see those truck accidents out in the West, on the open road, guys hauling ass, trying to make up time. This guy was trying to make up time, and man, did he lose, because, he's not dead, but he was definitely hurting rather. But again, we've been rocking and rolling for like the last 2-3 weeks, man, like straight. I've never seen anything like this. And some of it's serious shit and some of it is bullshit. But nonetheless, we've been rocking and rolling, the whole city. So a lot of us are drained.
If you don't mind me just asking one question, was it worse than Sandy?
Yes.
Okay.
It's definitely worse than Sandy. I worked during Sandy and I worked during Irene, and this was worse, hands down.
Right.
People are like, oh, but Sandy was, nope. Yeah, Sandy wiped out a whole community out in Breezy Point, right? But this had flooding and thousands of homes are ruined because of the sewage and shit that was in there, right? And the flooding.
Yeah.
So thousands of homes were ruined. It's probably about the same amount of homes that were ruined in Breezy Point. So, but the crazy thing is these homes were in the middle of the Bronx, mainland. You know what I mean? Like it was supposedly, it wasn't by the shore. It wasn't by a river. We didn't have a creek anywhere nearby. And this shit just fucking went up. So a lot of homes are going to have to be ripped apart. A lot of the basement apartments. So now, for firefighters, the one bad thing about the basement apartment problem is that now we have to go around and, taking note of basement apartments, writing it down, sending it to the city, and then the city's going to send a unit and get those people kicked out of it if they're not legal. There were a lot of illegal apartments, but there were a lot of apartments that were legal. But I think if we get another flooding like this, even those legal apartments are going to be canceled, if you will, got rid of, or you can't modify them. You have to get rid of them if we continue to have this kind of a problem. So we shall see. Peak refuel. Tina, thank you for the peak refuel link. So guys, in the comment section, or in the chat rather, sorry, Tina put the link for the Disaster Preparedness NYC book and the peak refuel, guys, which I tell you, hands down, is possibly one of the best freeze-dried foods out there. They actually put meat and shit in their food. So they don't fuck around. But their prices are not to be fucked around with either, because it's $11 a package. So keep in mind, if you got the money to spend, spend it. If you don't, go cheaper. You know, it's going to keep you alive regardless. Nutrient survival is possibly the second best on the market, because there's actually nutrients in it that are good for you and revive you and all this other crazy bullshit. But if you have a better one, by all means, go with that one as well too. All right, guys. So we're going to end this today. I know a lot of people, didn't make it, but whatever. We're going to have another one probably later September, probably the 19th, maybe the 19th, if not the 26th. And that'll probably be the next one. This month is a busy month for me, and October, we might do October 10th. If anything, Columbus Day weekend, whatever the fuck people want to call it. But we're going to do more online, I don't know about going back to the church, because the church still lost their fucking mind. Everything with them is, you got to get vaccinated, you got to wear a mask, so they've turned into psych patients. I'm going to give them a call this week and see how strict they are. If they're not too strict, we'll hold some meetings there again as well, at least the how-to meetings. If we're going to have a discussion like this, guys, I think discussions are just going to happen on here. It's just a lot easier. It makes sense. But hands-on, unfortunately, have to be in person. So we'll find a place. Either it'll be the church or somewhere new, but we'll find a place to do hands-on. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for coming out. Again, this is going to be on the New York City Preparedness channel, and we will have the video be uploaded later today. Moving forward, the channel will be, when it gets to the point where it can be monetized, that'll be great, because then the money made on this channel can go towards the group, and we can pay less out of our pocket for certain things once the channel gets monetized. And all the videos will be Zoom meetings. So I won't be doing any special videos for this shit. This will be for that, unless it's a warranted video. Most of the videos, not most, all of the videos will be Zoom meetings. All right, guys. And the how-tos, the hands-ons. But the hands-on ones, unfortunately, I gotta figure out a way how to record those classes through Zoom so people can watch as well, if they can't make it for whatever reason. Or I'll just put those videos on the NYC Prepper YouTube channel later instead of Zooming it. So film it on my own and then put it in there. I haven't decided yet, but whatever. Okay. All right, guys. Other than that, sorry for being so fucking tired and drained. I just had enough of the week. But it is what it is, right?
Stay safe, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.